Howdy, this is Sailor the Piper, Piper the Sailor Man, coming to you from the island of Puerto Rico on this day. I don't know if it's gonna rain, it's gonna sun right now with all the tropical or storm warnings. Who knows what we're gonna get next? Shout out to all those in Florida that survived that Fort Myers, man. Looked like a bomb hit it. And I understand that feeling because that happened to us. So I came on this morning, first of all, to say thank you to all you guys. You guys been watching my videos when I first started. I didn't even know why. I just saw some videos and I said, hey, well, I used to be a tobacconist. I know a little bit about uh, pipe tobacco. I'm not one of those guys think know it all. I know everything tobacco. I learned a lot. A lot of what I learned were from a lot of my great OG old school customers that came in that were already smoking pipes for 40, 50 years. When I had the privilege, for me it's a privilege of I'm gonna smoke. You know what? I'm gonna smoke this, and you know why I'm gonna smoke this? Because my wife hates the smell of this. The Perique Latakia. See, Perique Latakia in it, I think. Let me see. She hates it. She says it's horrid. But I love it. It has Orientally Perique. A mixture of Latakia, Oriental, and Perique. Makes for a great Balkan blend. She cannot stand it out of all the tobacco. Oh, you're smoking that nightcap again. I can't stand it. Why do you smoke that in the house? That's the only one really that she hates it. I had to actually hide this. She says, I'm gonna find. I was hearing her talk to my daughter. I'm gonna find that one nasty nightcap my ass. She goes. Well, she's still at work and she's gonna come off the night shift. This is so iconic. And then I love the smell of that Latakia and Perique together. It's pungent, but it's like it's a cake butt. It's cake butt. And then it has the Oriental to kind of slow it down. And but it's nice. I can understand why they call it nightcap. Thank you, Peterson, for keeping. Shout out to Peterson, man, for keeping all these blends going. It's just that I'm eclectic. I like all kind of blends, and but I'm smoking mute bowl before my wife gets home. I don't know. You have wives that can't stand smoking or like smoking or whatever, but I'm lighting it up real quick. Perique and Latakia. Lighting it up quick. Shout out to Lady Fly. She loves Perique, man. I watched a video. She was like, oh, mm. But the aroma, I don't understand why my wife don't like it. I love it. I love nightcap, man. If you tell me you're English blend and you like Balkan blend, you don't have this in your rotation, you're a sorry dude, man. Hey, dude. This is great. But getting back, another stuff I learned. I got high as a tobacconist because of my cigar ability to taste them. I grew up chewing tobacco. My uncles grew up in the industry. So based on the fact that I had knowledge of Dominicans and uh, Honduran and Nicaraguan and Mexican blend, and I knew the difference between the taste of a San Andreas, from an Ecuadorian, from an Escudo, from Raw Jamaica. I got the job because they had they had Mark Shank came in, who was at the time the owner of Cigar Aficionado, and he had um, some cigars without bands, and he was doing the rating. And my boss said, "Me go, let me give it a shot. Why don't you go on one of his panels?" So I did. Here, try this cigar. Can you tell me where it's from? So I tried it. I said it has an Ecuadorian wrapper, Honduran filler, and binder. I said, what does it most taste like? A Te Amo. Close to a Te Amo. But it was nice. It's like a Cuban, but it's not a Cuban. I know it's not a Cuban. What rating would you give it? I said, I give it a 92. A 92? I said, yeah, you buy that cigar? I got customers that like Cuban, Bolivar, Monte Cristo #2s. I can sell a whole lot of that. Yeah, but the name Puros Indios. It was called Puros Indios. At the time, it was being manufactured in New Jersey. Rolando Reyes, I think was his name. I'm not sure. It's a long time ago. So he went, and at that time, they were being sold like a bundle of cigars. I said, this is not a bundle of cigars. This is a premium cigar. But his problem was the production, hand rolling. I think he's got to upgrade his hand rolling. I opened one. I said, yeah, his hand rolling isn't the best in the world. So you can't compare Cuban cigar rollers to. And at that time, we're looking at the 90s, Honduran cigar rollers just getting into their Nicaragua hand rollers were off until recently, really, in the 10 years. So they had Dominican rollers been rolling cigars just as long as Cuba. Maybe even more. The first production of handmade cigars came from the Dominican Republic, not Cuba. But the way that sun hits and the way the tobacco is grown, to me, the most smokable cigar on the face of the planet is Dominican leaf. It might not be too strong. It might be a little light, but from the millennium on, people preferred more heavy cigars. But before that, people were smoking cigars from Cigar Consolidated. They were smoking Macanudos. And so what astonished him is that I picked out, I said, this is the Raw Jamaica. Pre-hurricane, there was a hurricane that hit Jamaica in like 1960, 72. And my uncle used to smoke Raw Jamaicas. I used to get a box, and he would trade a box for him. The 1960 Raw Jamaica was the best tasting Jamaica. Had the oily wrapper, had been aged like 15, 20 years. But when the hurricane hit Jamaica, I forgot what year it was that. It destroyed everything. Cigar Consolidated used as an excuse to move their line to Santo Domingo. But it was a great cigar, one of my all-time favorite cigars. That being said, I had learned a lot about pipe tobacco. And I give that honor to George Gomez, who had been a cigar blender for years and years and years. And I learned through that a book that came out by Hacker, just the basics. I was just new. I didn't know. You know, I bought my Dr. Gray boy pop, was smoking Middleton cherries. I always say that. Middleton, I started with the Middleton brand. They're still around. They moved their production to Santo Domingo. That was a smart move. Cost goes down. I don't think they got to pay as much taxes. But anyway, I'm learning from these OGs. People that have fought, men have fought in the 1990s. There was still a lot of gentlemen in their late 70s that were smoking cigars, and they were telling me about World War II. One was Lester Hayes, who was at Pearl Harbor, and taught me a lot about tobacco, pipe tobacco. Taught me he smoked Dunhill pipes, and George gave me, the manager of the store that the contract worked for, gave me a Dunhill Shell Briar 1917 with the box. I didn't know what I had in my hand. I wish I had never given it away. But I did. I smoked it, I enjoyed it. It looked a lot like a small K Woody. I wasn't into collecting anything like that. And well, I learned a lot from a lot of the customers. And a lot of the customers had the habit of coming in and making their own blends. And using tobacco. What I really learned a lot was creating blends. Because I ended up creating a blend. And the base, what would you use for a base, what would you use for a second, which tobacco burns quicker, which tobacco burns slower. This goes with this great. Perique goes with Virginia, or Latakia goes well with Balkan. I learned the difference between Latakia from Syria, Latakia from the Balkan, Macedonian blends. Then as a pipe maker, Danish pipe makers came and would travel. I met S. Bang, who was a pipe maker. He was great creative designer of pipes, and he was a pipe maker. And he began selecting certain briar for certain blends. So this briar, when he told me Grecian Plateau briar will smoke better with a Virginia tobacco, as to an Oriental, as to Perique, as to any other tobacco. I said, you say Grecian Plateau briar smokes the best with this one? Yeah, and he was one of those Argent that believed that he believed he couldn't stand ghosting. That's number one. S. Bang. When he would say, you'll rotate, he believed in the, rotating a pipe for a different tobacco blend. Like he literally had, like, for example, Aramore got here, right? He would have a pipe for Aramore. I have a pipe for a Balkan blend. And I believe this. I'll just go down to this. If you smoke English tobacco, you should have a pipe for English tobacco blends only, or pipes, depending on how many pipe you have. And for aromatic, most definitely, I believe aromatics should never be smoked in a English pipe. That's I'm a purist like that. If I got a pipe, it's either going to be aromatic or English. Now, I do like certain pipes for Balkan blends. And that, I usually use a Meerschaum. But I learned a lot from these old timers. They're no longer around. And so a lot of the lessons I learned I never wrote them down, but they pop in my mind from time to time. You know, what they told me. If I'm sure I sat down, and I think I'm going to, some of the blends that they created, what brands to what brands. I knew if I knew the formula, I know it because I have that taste. I can produce a Froggy Morton. If I knew exactly the measurements and what kind of tobacco was used in it, it's been a long time. I think I could produce probably one of the closest Froggy Mortons in all of the world. That's how confident I can come up with a Froggy Morton. I smoked so much of that when it first came out. Oh my God, it was like 8 months. Froggy Morton every day. When I was in the industry, I smoked 9 cigars a day. 9 cigars, tasting cigars. And they were all Churchill size. And I was legendary for that. I worked with a cigar in my mouth. I worked with customers, and it was lit. And the customers were just looking at me. And the customers, daily customers that would come every day, they got to know Dominicans were like on Monday, Ecuadorians on Tuesday, Hondurans on Wednesday, and then on Friday night, like the Ranchi Te Amo cigars, the San Andreas, Veiny, Escudo tobacco. This is how you smoke. I said, I don't know. My uncle began teaching me that he was one of the first pioneers in San Andreas. So I always knew that a good tobacco, Dominican tobacco, would make a great base for a pipe blend. But the process, the chemistry, the pressing on it, it will take years for it to develop into a very fine pipe tobacco. And nobody's going to wait 5, 6, 7 years to take Virginia and take cigar tobacco, pressing it, leaving it in the barrel for 7, 8 years. Is so some of the blends I have, I would have to do that and then sit it, not look at it. I don't know if I got 7 years left in my life. Who knows? I can't wait. Like these wine makers, oh, I gotta make this wine, but this gotta sit there for 10 years before I taste it. And I went out and I worked the fields no. I'm sorry, I'll leave that to somebody else. So all this stuff now is aged tobacco. What, 2 years? That's not aged tobacco. Oh, it's been aged, the bride's been sitting there for 20-something years. That's a bunch of lie. Do you know the whole process of taking a briar, taking the sap out, letting it sit and dry? Not even Peterson or Dunhill does that anymore. Too expensive. If this industry goes on, there's going to be the pipe makers' fault, the tobacco producers' fault. Why? They don't promote. I don't see ads anymore. If you do, you let me know. I don't see them ads. And we have mass media. To the life of me, I don't know why there isn't a tobacco, a pipe, a cigar channel. Is there something against that? A pipe, a tobacco channel. Don't you think we can run 24 hours? One of the first programs I put on it, I put this guy that goes back and he talks about the old time pipe tobacco. I forgot his name. I would put him on it. I would put blues on it. I would put Flat Cap Piper and Lady Fire in it. And definitely I put Tongue in it. But I'm just saying, we can have our own. You remember Tipperville used to run the ads? And you walk in the room. I knew that you were a man of distinction, a real big spender. Hey, big spender, won't you come and spend some time with me? I mean, you had all kinds of cigar ads. I like to look at them. They were great. Captain Black. The Pork and Riffs were the best ads I used to see. Okay, Woody, but they're full of shit. They think that pipe smoking is not dying now. This is a dying art, man. All the old timers are dying off, and they're not passing their knowledge on. That's what I like about this. I can pass knowledge on. Some young dude comes around. This guy's in the industry. This is the pipe. This is the best at one time. Briars, Grecian Plateau briar, Corsican briar, Sardinian briar. All those little islands in between North Africa and Europe, where the weather comes swooping in. I've been on the island of Sardinia, man. There wasn't 1 hour that the weather didn't change. If you've been on the island of Mallorca, you've been on the island of Corsica, you've been on the island of Sardinia, like I have, you've been on the island of Crete and the island of Cyprus, the weather is constantly changing. The sun producing and what grows, and the trees that grow there are strong, deeply rooted, hard. And if you're able to, nobody talks too much about the briar cutters anymore. That's usually family. You have to know how to cut briar. Some people say they know how to cut briar, they don't know how to cut briar. That being said, I'm smoking, my wife isn't home yet. I'm smoking this. Random thoughts, buddy. Smoking in a Viking pipe. Really nice pipes. Inexpensive pipe. It's not an artisan pipe, it's a smoker's pipe. It's a good smoker's pipe. Like this, it's not high grade, good wood. They stand well with the crown on it. I fell in love with these bulldogs. Remember, I never had one. All my customers, there was this one. Hey, look at this bulldog right here with this one. One customer used to come in, Rhodesian. Any Rhodesians, he's about here collecting Rhodesian pipe. What's the difference between Rhodesian and bulldog? Right here. A good bulldog it's almost star shaped. Yeah. It's a different, the stem. See that? It's square, but it's a diagonal square, diamond shape. That's when you got a real bulldog. Shape and top, almost like a 45-degree angle. It's almost like an apple shape. And then the shank. And then to finish off, you finish it off like this. That's a bulldog. Traditional bulldog. Well, say to the piper man, say to the man, you have a good one. I want to get finished smoking this before my wife comes and starts complaining. So good looking out. Until the next time, smooth sailing.